What up, what up, what up? I want to welcome y'all to the first episode of Sports with Ray, featuring me, Ray Rob, the one and only. For those that don't know, or if you do know, I'm glad for y'all to tune in and check out this podcast. I want to just do a little something different. I still got the Ray Rob report, that will be on Thursdays. I just wanted to start this off and let's go ahead and do this. This will be strictly sports, things that I mess with. So I'm really pretty much just going to focus on the playoffs this weekend, the NFL playoffs. So let's just start off with, and I'm not going to be long with some of the shit I don't really care about. Yes, I cuss, excuse my language. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep it as clean as I can. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. But let's just start off with the Monday night game, Cardinals versus the Rams. Not much to really talk about. The Rams won 34-11, really dominated. Kyler Murray looked like a deer in headlights in his first playoff game. Cliff Kingsbury looked like he was back at Texas Tech, playing like Texas or Oklahoma, and he didn't know what to do. J.J. Watt came back, gave him a shot in the arm in the beginning, but really, it just seemed like Matt Stafford got his first victory in the playoffs. Kudos to him, because I definitely had a little doubts about him. They try to build him up, but he is good, but, it's all about showing and proving. So, Kyler was missing his reads, and he had happy feet. He was hesitating, and it's just not kind of, if you looked at the Arizona Cardinals, if I'm correct, they started out, was it 7-0? And they ended up 4-7, if I'm correct. So, they started off at world beaters. They did that the year before as well. They started off good and then kind of tailored and faded. It's almost as if they get off to a good start, people make adjustments, and they're not able to make the adjustments to the adjustments. So, but they made it to the playoffs. It's really more about the Rams, who went all in. They got Von Miller, who was getting at everybody. He was unblockable. Donald did his thing. Shout out to Cam Akers. Cam Akers came back. He tore his Achilles. Thought he was going to be gone for the year. He came back. He ran the ball impressive. Stafford only threw the ball 17 times, so it was a little more of a different look. Because before they were Cooper Kupp happy, going crazy with him. It worked sometimes, but then some of the good teams got hip to that. Stafford in the last 3 games had a couple interceptions apiece. He had a 2 or 3 game streak where he threw pick sixes in every game. He had like 8 interceptions down the stretch. So kudos to them. And also shout out to OBJ. A lot of Cleveland fans are mad. Like, I don't get it, where it's like, okay, you ain't want him. He's gone. And now he has like some success, and now you mad. I get it, but I don't. Like, you don't care about him, wasn't that good, so it shouldn't matter now. Like, it seems like it's like a little bit of guilt, or just, I don't know. Like, you see your ex leave you and they doing better, and you just feel sorry about the shit. Like, get over it. So, shout out to them. They will be facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not much to talk about that there as well. They won 31-15. It really wasn't that close. Tom Brady dominated. Did what he had to do. Was efficient. Gronk was going wild. Vaughn came in and ran the ball. They were out Ronald Jones and Leonard, playoff Lenny. And, they still dominated. Jalen looked like Kyler looked. Skittish. Not sure of himself. Missing easy reads, And, the better teams won, but it's just, just sucks seeing I'm not going to lie, seeing the young black quarterbacks, looks like they have the same issues, not reading coverage. You see what I'm saying? But the instinct didn't take off. without straying out. That's why I kind of like Michael Vick. Michael Vick wasn't the greatest passer or anything like that. But I feel like sometimes some of the quarterbacks, they try to show that they're a great passer, and they're not able to read coverage that great. And then they're staying in the pocket, and then they're even taking more hits. I feel like Michael Vick was more like, all right, these people, they coming fast. I got 2.5 seconds. I'm out. You see what I'm saying? Or I'm out of the pocket. I'm going to move around so I can, and that's usually what both players do, but it was almost as if they were, but I understand playoff football is different. So, you live and you learn. But yeah, so Philly loses to Tampa Bay 31-15. They scored a couple late touchdowns to make it look respectable. It really wasn't. So now we have the matchup between Matt Stafford and Tom Brady. They played earlier this year, and the Rams actually won 37-20. So, Psycho T will probably remember that, and they'll be ready and mad and all that good stuff. So if we want to go to, let's start on Saturday. Start with the first game, the first playoff game. Cincinnati won 26-19. Cincinnati with a first playoff win in the last 31 years. We all, people from Ohio, I'm from Ohio. If you didn't know, everybody felt like it was the curse of Bo. That's why it was just ironic that the last team that they beat in the playoffs, which was Bo, when Bo got injured with his hip, is the same team that they basically had to reverse the curse against. And if you looked at the game, both teams were not trying to win. It was very sloppy, a lot of penalties. I know we all know about the controversial situation where it was an inadvertent whistle. Joe Burrow threw a touchdown pass to Tyler Boyd that it should not have been called. A lot of fans talk about that. But also, you need to talk about that the Las Vegas Raiders were in the red zone or had first downs and continuously shot themselves in the foot with penalties. So, yeah, that happened. You can be sorry about that, but there was many opportunities where they were self-checked. Where basically, as my homeboy told me before, they basically bought the grocery, paid for it, you know what I'm saying, was going to the car, and then all that shit just fell out. And then they just drove home. So. But they won 26-19. It was a big win for the Bengals. The Bengals will now go and play the Tennessee Titans, who are the number 1 seed, and also get that man back. That's right. Derrick Henry's back. Tennessee has been holding fort while he's been gone. The record versus 500 teams or above is 6-2 this year. The question will always be, what is Tannehill going to do when he has to win? They always say it's just enough, but when he goes up against a certain quarterback when it's time for firepower to score points, doesn't always come through. So that's the first AFC matchup. And then Buffalo just ran. They exercised all the demons. They was tired. They basically was like, get Mac Jones the F out of here. We tired of hearing about this dude that y'all keep on talking about because y'all won a game when it was inclement weather and he threw the ball 3 times. So they beat them 47-17, which in the NFL is like equivalent to winning like 75-25 or something. Like they was just dog walking them all the way down the street. Nothing wrong with, New England. I mean, they were not in the playoffs. They get in the playoffs this year with a rookie quarterback. He'll be able to grow. I do think he's decent. I don't think he's great as everybody says he is, but he can also prove that wrong. But he is a good quarterback. I was saying at the beginning of the year they didn't have weapons. When they won like 6 or 7 in a row, everybody told me to shut the F up. I don't know what I'm talking about. And then when they lose, then he don't got any weapons. Right. And then also, and they end up, let me get this correct. So basically, the Bills get their rematch. They get their get back against the Kansas City Chiefs, who dog walked Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh shouldn't even have been in there. I still have nothing to do with it, but I'm personally mad at the Indianapolis Colts for letting this happen. I won't forgive you for this, but they dog walked. They basically dog walked the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was no contest. Wasn't anything really serious. So the playoffs for next week pretty much set up to be the Buffalo Bills at Kansas City, where they can get their get back. It's the rematch of the AFC Championship game. And then you have the Tennessee Titans versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Not to mention the Tennessee loss to Kansas City the year before. So, real interesting. And, of course, the game of the week. Well, I'm not going to talk about it like that. But, you know, the fan bases is annoying as hell. But, hey, shout out to the San Francisco. I got a lot of people that rock with San Francisco. Y'all my people. But y'all know y'all fan base is annoying as hell. And Dallas, y'all don't even need to. Stephen A. was damn near about to, UTEP two-step on y'all. But we all know, we saw that Dallas lost to the 49ers 23-17. There's a lot of questionable things that happened, but essentially the Achilles heel, San Francisco was just a bad matchup. You know when people say things, they're a bad matchup, but then you hear it so much that you feel like the team gets tired. That didn't happen. San Francisco ran the ball. They were really scoring at will, but they were only getting field goals. It really shouldn't have been as close as that. Dak, the third black quarterback. I love my guys, you know what I'm saying? Much salute to them. Dak has, ever since he was injured, he had a litany of injuries and took that week off, and Cooper Rush came and they beat Minnesota. He has not been the same. He second guesses himself. He misses a lot of reads. A lot of, like they were talking about Patrick Mahomes missing a lot of reads, and, it's like he had to break that habit. But between Jalen, Kyler Murray, and Dak, he gets a little more scrutiny because you're a $40 million man, and you pay how you play. You got to pay, you got to play how you weigh. So he was missing a lot. There was a lot of easy reads that could have got your confidence going. He just wasn't able to make those throws. They didn't run the ball. It's just, that's the great thing about playoff football. Like, you see that things that were working in the regular season that you didn't have any problems with, shit changed. And then what are you going to do when it changed? And basically, they froze up. Jimmy G tried to give it back, which is why Trey Lance was sitting there with the Birdman hand rub like, yeah. Let's go, Jimmy. Let's go. But next year it's my turn, because you see, because they should have blew Dallas out. But so now you got one matchup, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the LA Rams, and then you have Dallas, thanks to y'all, sitting at home, and that was San Francisco versus Green Bay, which is another bad matchup because they're kind of built like Dallas is a little bit. Their defense is better, but they're built the same way. And San Francisco has run over Green Bay the last couple of years. I know they won 30-28 or something like that this year, but it was still close because San Francisco is more physical. And in these playoffs, you really see who want to get hit, who want that smoke, and who don't want that smoke. And so the one good thing is, of course, Green Bay, they got Turner back, and they got Bakhtiari, an elite left tackle. We'll see how that goes. But that Final Four matchup, I'm interested to see how it goes. I'm just going to go on a limb. We'll see how this goes. I'm picking Cincinnati to beat the Titans. That's more hope than heart. And also, I trust Jimmy. I said Jimmy. I trust Joey over Ryan Tannehill. With Buffalo and Kansas City, I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes. They've been to the Super Bowl the last couple of years. Until they get beat, I don't believe it. We go to the NFC. I'm going to contradict myself. I know you shouldn't pick against Terrific Tom. And I just believe them weapons, not having them weapons. I feel like Jalen, even though he's been playing the star position and moving all around, he's gonna lock up on Mike Evans a little bit more. Then it's gonna be on Gronk and them. But unless if they get Fournette and them back, Fournette and Ronald Jones back, it may be different. But if not, I'm gonna choose the Rams to go to the defending champs and upset them. And they get to the NFC Championship game, and then I'm picking San Francisco to upset Green Bay. I don't know. It seems like it's a little too perfect for Green Bay to win. Aaron with his lying ass, and he's still cold, though. I just feel like some of that stuff be catching up. I mean, because how it shows right now was like he should actually go to the Super Bowl and win and then go somewhere else. But we also know life don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. So San Francisco will go to Green Bay and win. And I'm predicting the Rams are going to go to Tampa Bay and win. So that in a nutshell is my NFL breakdown for the playoffs. Now for this one, this is a segment that I'm always going to do every week. It's going to always have something to do with Old State. If you don't know, Ohio State football is my favorite team. I mean, the Bears are my favorite team in the NFL. But as far as college football, it's all about those Buckeyes. I'm basically going to do a quick review of the season with Ohio State. So we can start by going to the national championship game when we lost 52-24. Even just the course of the COVID year, our defense wasn't the same. Coach Hafley got the job at Boston College. Madison, I think, retired. Coombs became the defensive coordinator. He's a great recruiter, great secondary coach. And I didn't really believe in him, but I didn't know. And so our defense, which was man press, it seemed like with a little bit of zone, one safety high, and having them three linebackers. One was supposed to be a rover, which is a mix of a safety and a linebacker, the hybrid. They just put linebackers in there, and I always felt it eventually caught up to us. I felt that's what happened at the end of 2020. Sean Wade went from a first-round draft pick. Defense changed. He became a fifth-round draft pick. I feel like he's somewhere in between. There's nobody that looks that good in one scheme and that bad in another scheme. He was a pro about it because he played inside and then he came outside. And it looked out of whack. But, we beat Clemson and all that stuff, so we didn't care. So then you fast forward to this past season. The first game we played Minnesota, you see that the running back, their whole running game, counter trade, they ran the same play. They got the same amount of yards. They were moving the ball. And it's not only that they were moving the ball against Ohio State, it's that Ohio State was out of position the same way each time they ran that same play. It was very bothersome. It was a continuation of the leak last year. I mean, you have these 5 stars. You have these great players. You have this defensive line, which is supposed to be all world. And I don't know if I really saw people getting pushed off the ball. I just saw people out of position. Then you get to the Oregon game. Oregon, we have this offensive line where you got all this beef. And then we start 4 tackles, which didn't make any sense to me. And, with 4 tackles, you should be moving stuff. Like, you should be moving the line. Oregon's line, they didn't have Thibodeau, who at the time was the best defensive player in college football. He was out. They were undersized, and yet we couldn't run the ball with these tackles, which I noticed throughout the season that when we faced rec or good competition, I mean, besides the athletes being great athletes, we didn't push people around that had talent comparable to us. I mean, the Michigan State, we were able to throw against them, so that I really don't count that. So Oregon comes and they just dominate us on both sides of the ball. Then they run the same play almost as if they saw the Minnesota film, and they get tons of yards. They score like once or twice off the same play, the same counter. People were out of position. it was like very frustrating. People were at it. And so at that point, which I like about Ryan Day, he didn't waste any time. He just said changes are going to be made. We got to have uncomfortable conversations. He ain't with that. He is not with it. And I appreciate that he's not with it. So then they changed up some roles. Matt Barnes, who was the secondary coach, is now calling plays. Combs is still up in the booth, but he's no longer the defensive coordinator per se. So then we played a couple of games against like Tulsa, Akron. We played a couple of games where continuity got better. You can see changes being made, but it was at least better than how we were looking. Of course, when you implement an overhaul, it doesn't get great like in 1 year, unless you just hit your stride or lucky. So, they tried it. They did what they could do. Went back to more two safeties, mixed a little zone, and man, the crazy thing is with me, I'm not the biggest. I'm like that when it comes to like watching sports and things of that nature. But when I watched them, it's almost like I could tell when the blitz was coming. I could tell when they were going to blitz. I could just see everything coming. Like it was kind of predictable. It was kind of vanilla to me. When you got the athletes, you're able to get it off and able to do some things. Also, one big thing that that happened to us, Josh Proctor, who was basically, the eraser back there, safety, he got injured. And then we got number 17, Bryson Shaw in there. Sevyn Banks and Cam Brown were either injured or in disciplinary reasons, were in and out of the lineup, which led to Denzel Burke, a true freshman, first true freshman to really start on defense is Andy Katzenmoyer. Boom, 1997. Bow, what you want? I'm like, but first defender to start. That's almost, 25 years in a quarter century? Just got his chance. And he was arguably, if not the best player, top 3 best defensive players on our team. And so that was one of the silver linings. He got a whole year of experience. 6'1", rangy, could cover. His worst 2 games kind of came at the end of the season, but he's a rookie, he's a freshman, but he had a solid year. I feel like as far as the D-line, you had Haskell, you had Gage, you had Tyreek Smith, Baptiste, they did a good job. I do feel like with JT Tuiamalo, if I said that name wrong, I apologize, and Sawyer, I felt like they're just waiting. And I'm just kind of looking at them because the schools that we're competing with, I know we lost to Michigan this year, but we're competing with Clemson and Alabama, and now Georgia. You see what I'm saying? And you look at Willie Anderson, he's a true sophomore. He's in there. I feel like the best players should play. And maybe they were the best player at one time, but when you got 5 stars sitting I would have played them more. Even with the linebackers, it was inconsistencies there. And then also Eichenberg, who I talked a lot of crap about you. I'm sorry, but I didn't think you were that good. But I was wrong. You actually were improving the whole year. And in the Rose Bowl, you really showed what you could do. Before then, you just got better. And Steel Chambers is also a good silver lining because he was a running back. He was a decent running back. Got on the other side of the ball. And he really became good. Cody Simon, he's decent too. But Paolote, he got in a little bit later at the end of the year. But that's a position that we need to strongly upgrade, but there are pillars there. Also, Tyleik Williams being a D tackle. I like what the future's holding for us. So I gave this season, it's disappointing because we definitely didn't get to where we need to go. But we also knew there were flaws that we were hoping that were covered up and they got exposed. And the thing that you like about Ryan Day is he addresses the issue and he moves forward. So I would give us a B minus. We had transfers. There's changes that were made that I will talk about as far as in the next episode and everything like that. But I like our young core. Salute to Olave, Garrett. Shout out to Jackson and Jigba. We definitely had the best wide receiving core in the country. I felt that any of the other three, like between Georgia, I mean, I know we lost to Michigan. I wish we would have played them again, but like Georgia, Georgia, Alabama, and Cincinnati, like we would have gave them fits with that core, with that receiving core. But I still feel like next year we're going to have the best receiving core because you still got Julian Fleming, you got Harrison, you got Abuka with Jackson and Jigba. The cover's not bare. Travion Henderson, he's going to be better. Shout out to Master Teague, had a great career. But, I mean, there were ups or downs, but it took something like the Michigan game to see us get muscled and beat by the team that we despise to realize that change actually needed to happen. So I'm very excited to see what's going to come about. I'm just going to leave it on that note. I want to thank y'all for listening and checking out the very first episode of Sports with Ray. Next week, have a little more coverage on the playoffs. Not only that, we'll talk a little NBA. And, of course, the Ohio State segment, I'll talk about what I want to see or my expectations or some recruits even going into spring ball. I'll just take it little by little. But other than that, I want to thank y'all for checking me out. And y'all have a good one.